At my daughter's birthday, my ex-husband showed up with my younger sister. They're engaged now. My family welcomed them with open arms. My daughter cried. So, I left and took every college fund dollar I'd set aside for my nibblings. They can ask Aunt Mom. Hey, Reddit. Never thought I'd be posting here, but after what happened at my daughter's birthday party last weekend, I need to get this off my chest and figure out if I'm the chmoy everyone's claiming I am. I'm 37 female, divorced for 3 years, from my ex-husband Clark, 35 male. We have one daughter together, Emma, who just turned 10. The divorce was brutal, not because of custody battles or asset division, but because of how it happened. Clark cheated on me with my younger sister Michelle, 32 female, and I only found out when the timeline didn't match up with when we'd been intimate and his messages started tripping over themselves. Yeah, that kind of betrayal. For context, Michelle and I used to be close. Not best friends or anything, but solid siblings who had each other's backs. She was the charming one, the woman everyone gravitated toward at parties. I was the responsible one, the one who got a steady job, bought a house, started a family. Classic dynamic, right? When Clark and I started having problems, stress from work, new baby, the usual marriage strain, Michelle was around a lot. She'd come over for dinner, help with projects around the house, play with Emma when she was a toddler. I actually appreciated it at the time. Thought it was nice having family support. Turns out she was supporting my husband right into bed. The affair lasted about 8 months before Clark's late meetings turned into overnights that didn't line up with reality. He tried to pass the whole thing off as innocent, but I'm not an idiot. We hadn't been intimate in months because of the stress and arguments. When I pushed for the truth, it all came out. The late-night texts, the emergency visits to Michelle's apartment, the lies about work events and helping my sister. I filed for divorce immediately. We settled on joint custody, alternating weeks with Emma. All major decisions made together. I paid child support and covered half of Emma's expenses, kept things civil for our daughter's sake, even though seeing Clark at pickups made me want to scream. The baby, a boy they named Connor, was born 5 months after our divorce finalized. I've never met him. That's Clark's kid with Michelle. Not my responsibility or concern. Emma has, obviously. Connor is technically her half-brother. She's confused about the whole thing, which I get. It's a lot for a kid to process. But here's where it gets complicated with my family. My parents divorced when we were teenagers. Dad remarried and moved to Florida, and we see him maybe twice a year. Mom, though, she lives 20 minutes away and has always been heavily involved in our lives. After the divorce, I expected her to be furious with Michelle. She slept with her sister's husband, destroyed our family, and lied for months. Pretty clear-cut villain, right? Wrong. Mom's response was that these things happen, and we all needed to move forward as a family. She never once acknowledged what Michelle did as wrong, just kept pushing for us to reconcile, to let bygones be bygones, to think about Emma and how she needs her aunt in her life. I told her I'd think about Emma's needs when everyone else started thinking about mine. Didn't go over well. I also have an older sister, Jessica, 40 female. She was slightly better, but not by much. Jessica gave Michelle a token scolding, but then moved on to planning family gatherings where everyone pretended nothing happened. She actually told me I was holding a grudge and needed to work on forgiveness for my own mental health. Jessica has 3 kids, Tyler, 15 male, Sophia, 12 female, and Liam, 8 male. Michelle has 2, Olivia, 6 female, and Noah, 4 male. 5 nibblings total that I've always been close with. I'm the cool aunt who takes them to baseball games, helps with science projects, remembers their birthdays with actual thoughtful gifts instead of generic gift cards. And here's the part that's relevant. I've been funding 5 and 29 college savings accounts for all 5 of them since they were born. For those who don't know, a 529 is a tax-advantaged savings plan for education expenses. I set one up for each nibbling shortly after they were born and have been contributing $200 per month per kid for years. Tyler's account has about $38,000 in it. Sophia's has around $30,000. The younger kids have less, but it adds up. Combined, I've put roughly $120,000 into these accounts over the years. My sisters knew about these accounts. It wasn't a secret. I'd mentioned them during family discussions about college planning, talked about investment strategies, even showed Jessica the statements once when she asked how they worked. They appreciated it, or at least they did, and thanked me multiple times for being so generous with their kids' futures. I never set one up for Connor. Why would I? He's not my nephew. He's my ex-husband's child with my sister, the sister who destroyed my marriage. Now, let's get to last weekend. Emma's birthday party was supposed to be simple. Small gathering at my house, just close family, and a couple of her school friends. I spent days planning it, getting her favorite foods, decorating the backyard with her current obsession, some anime I don't fully understand but pretend to care about, and making sure everything would be perfect for her. Jessica confirmed she'd be there with the kids. Mom said she was coming. Dad RSVP'd no because Florida. All pretty standard. What wasn't standard was Clark and Michelle showing up together. I was in the kitchen grabbing more ice when the doorbell rang around 2 p.m. Emma ran to get it, and I heard her excited voice calling, "Daddy!" Made sense. I had agreed he could stop by briefly to give Emma her present and say happy birthday, even though it was my custody week. But then I heard a second voice, a female voice I recognized immediately. I walked into the living room to find Clark and Michelle standing in my entryway together. Clark was holding a wrapped present, and Michelle had her hand looped through his arm. That's when I noticed it. A diamond ring on Michelle's left hand that definitely wasn't there during last week's pickup. "Surprise," Clark said, his voice way too cheerful. "We wanted to tell Emma together. We're engaged." Emma's face fell, completely crumpled. This kid who'd been bouncing off the walls with excitement 30 seconds ago suddenly looked like someone had kicked her puppy. Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked at me with this expression of complete betrayal and confusion. I was frozen, literally couldn't move or speak for a few seconds while my brain processed what was happening. My ex-husband and my sister at my daughter's birthday party announcing their engagement in my house. That's when Mom came up behind me. I didn't even know she'd arrived. "Oh, how wonderful," she exclaimed, pushing past me to hug both of them. "Congratulations, Emma. Isn't this exciting? Your dad and Aunt Michelle are getting married." Emma burst into tears and ran upstairs. I found my voice. "What the hell are you doing here, Michelle?" She had the audacity to look hurt. "It's Emma's birthday. We wanted to celebrate as a family and share our good news." "Get out." "Come on, Daniil. Get out." Clark stepped forward. "You're making a scene in front of Emma's friends." He gestured to the backyard where several of Emma's classmates were watching through the sliding glass door. "Can we please just—" "You're engaged," I said, my voice shaking. "You're engaged to my sister, and you thought my daughter's birthday party was the appropriate time to announce it." "We thought Emma should know in a happy setting," Clark said, surrounded by people who love her. Jessica appeared in the kitchen doorway. She already knew. I could tell by her face, that awkward, guilty expression people get when they're in on a secret. "You knew about this," I said, looking at her. "Clark called me a few days ago," Jessica admitted. "We thought it would be nice for them to share the news at a family gathering." "This isn't a family gathering. This is my daughter's birthday party at my house that I'm hosting because it's my custody week." Mom sighed like I was being difficult. "Why do you have to make everything so dramatic? They're happy. Can't you just be happy for them?" I looked around at my family. Mom was still cooing over Michelle's ring. Jessica was treating me like the problem. Michelle had this smug expression like she'd won something. And somewhere upstairs, my daughter was crying on what should have been one of her happiest days. "Everyone out," I said quietly. "Party's over. Get out of my house." "You can't be serious," Mom said. "It's Emma's birthday and you just ruined it. All of you out, now." I spent the next hour salvaging what I could, apologized to Emma's friends' parents as they picked their kids up early, ordered Emma's favorite pizza, sat with her on her bed while she cried and asked me questions I didn't have good answers for. "Why does everyone like Aunt Michelle more than you?" she asked at one point. That one broke me, but I kept it together for her sake. Told her that sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, and that just because people make bad choices doesn't mean she did anything wrong. Assured her that her birthday wasn't ruined, we'd celebrate properly tomorrow, and that I loved her more than anything in the world. After I got Emma settled with a movie in her room, I went downstairs to clean up the disaster of my backyard. That's when I started thinking about those college funds. $120,000. That's how much I'd invested in my sister's kids' futures. Kids whose mothers had just sided with the man who destroyed my marriage. Kids whose grandmother couldn't even acknowledge that what happened to me was wrong. Kids who would grow up thinking Aunt Michelle, who'd betrayed her sister, had an affair with her brother-in-law, and built a shiny new life, was a great woman who deserved their respect. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not the hot, explosive anger from earlier, the cold, calculating kind that makes you do things you might not normally do. Around 10 o'clock p.m., after Emma was asleep, I pulled up the 529 account websites on my laptop. Here's something most people don't know about 529 plans. The account owner, me, can change the beneficiary at any time to anyone, including their own child. I could redirect all those funds to Emma's account. I sat there for an hour, staring at those account balances, thinking about every birthday, every Christmas, every Sunday dinner where I'd smiled and played along while my family minimized what Michelle had done to me. Every time I'd been told to move on, to forgive, to think about the family. At 11:17 p.m., I started making changes. Tyler's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm. Sophia's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm. Liam's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm. Olivia's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm. Noah's account, change beneficiary to Emma Johnson. Confirm. It took maybe 15 minutes total. 5 clicks, 5 confirmations, and suddenly all that money, every dollar I'd carefully saved and invested over the years, belonged to my daughter's education fund instead of my nibblings. Emma's 529 account, which already had about $45,000 in it from my regular contributions, now had approximately $165,000, enough to cover 4 years at a good state school with money left over for graduate school if she wanted it. I closed my laptop, poured myself a whiskey, and went to bed. The next morning, I sent a group text to my mom and Jessica. After yesterday's events, I have decided to redirect the college funds I'd set up for Tyler, Sophia, Liam, Olivia, and Noah. All 5 accounts have been moved to Emma's 529. Going forward, if your kids need college money, they can ask Aunt Mom. Then I turned off my phone and took Emma to breakfast. The fallout was immediate and nuclear. By the time I turned my phone back on around 2 p.m., I had 47 missed calls and 89 text messages, most from Jessica and Mom, but several from Michelle and even a few from Clark. Apparently, this was somehow their business now. Jessica's text started reasonable and deteriorated rapidly. Please call me. We need to talk about this. Daniil, that money is for Tyler's education. You can't just take it away. Do you have any idea how this affects our college planning? Tyler's counting on that money. You're being vindictive and cruel to children who did nothing to you. Call me right now. Mom's messages were predictably guilt-laced. Those babies are counting on you. How can you take away their futures? This isn't who you are, Daniil. You're better than this. Please reconsider. Do it for the kids, if not for your sister. Michelle's were a cocktail of indignation and performance. I can't believe you do this to Olivia and Noah. They're 4 and 6. This is financial abuse. You're punishing children for adult problems. Also, Connor is your daughter's brother. How could you do this to family? Clark chimed in with condescension. This is incredibly immature. Emma told me what you did, and she's confused about why you'd hurt her cousins. You're teaching her that revenge is acceptable, even for me, as if I was the one who'd been acting badly this whole time. I didn't respond to any of them. I turned my phone back off and enjoyed the rest of the day with Emma. That evening, Jessica showed up at my door. I watched her car pull up and seriously considered not answering, but I knew she'd just keep coming back, so I let her in. Are you out of your mind? She started immediately, not even saying hello. Tyler is applying to colleges next year. We've been planning his whole financial aid package around that 529 account. Then I guess you'll need a new plan, I said calmly. I'm serious. We can't afford to send him to school without that money. You know we can't. Sure you can. Student loans exist. Scholarships exist. Jobs exist. The same options available to everyone else whose aunt doesn't fund their education. This isn't fair to him. He didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I said. But somehow I'm the one whose family showed up to my daughter's birthday party to announce my ex-husband and my sister's engagement. I'm the one whose mother couldn't even acknowledge that what happened to me was wrong. I'm the one whose sister thinks I should just get over it and be happy that she's marrying the man who cheated with her while I was married to him. Jessica's face crumpled a bit. We were trying to move past it for the family's sake. No, you were trying to make it easier for yourselves. You didn't want to deal with the awkwardness of taking sides, so you decided I should just absorb the betrayal and smile about it. Well, I'm done absorbing things for the family's sake. What about the kids? They love you. Tyler asks about you all the time. That one stung, but I pushed through it. Then Tyler can keep a relationship with me that isn't based on money. If he wants to call, text, visit, great. But I'm not bankrolling his future while his mother sides with the people who destroyed mine. You're being cruel. I'm being fair. I gave your son $38,000 over 15 years. That's generous. I'm under no obligation to continue that generosity after this. We argued another 20 minutes before she left, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the frame. After she drove away, I poured another whiskey and tried not to feel guilty. But here's the truth. I didn't feel that guilty. Conflicted? Sure. Sad about potentially losing relationships with my nibblings? Absolutely. But guilty about the actual decision to redirect that money? Not really. The week continued in much the same pattern. Mom called daily, each conversation more manipulative than the last. Even my dad, who I barely talked to, sent an email suggesting I was overreacting and should think about the children. The children. Everyone kept talking about the children. Nobody mentioned my child. Nobody acknowledged that Emma had cried herself to sleep after her birthday party. Nobody seemed to care that she'd asked me, with tears streaming down her face, why her whole family liked her aunt more than her mom. On Thursday, Michelle sent a long text. I know things got messy. I know what Clark and I did was hurtful, but we love each other. We're trying to build a life together. Can't you see past your anger long enough to let us be happy? The engagement announcement was bad timing. I admit that. But the thing with the college funds is next level. You're punishing kids who literally have nothing to do with our situation. Jessica called me crying because she doesn't know how they're going to afford Tyler's education now. My kids are scared. Is this really who you want to be? The aunt who takes away kids' opportunities because she's mad at their parents. I'm asking you, sister to sister. I stopped reading there, stared at the words until they blurred. Then I typed, not your sister. And they can ask Aunt Mom for college money. Block! Friday evening, the extended family got involved. Calls and texts from aunts, uncles, cousins I barely spoke to. Everyone with an opinion about how I was destroying the family over pride. Mom had apparently called everyone to share her version of events, which painted me as a vindictive monster who'd stolen money from innocent children out of spite. The messages were all variations of the same theme. Family is everything. Don't let anger destroy these relationships. Those kids need you. Please reconsider. This isn't what Grandma would have wanted. Weaponizing the dead. Classic. I turned my phone off entirely for the weekend and took Emma to an amusement park 3 hours away. We rode roller coasters, ate overpriced theme park food, and stayed at a hotel with a pool where she could swim and forget about family drama for a while. She didn't mention Michelle, Clark, or the party once. We just had fun, the way her birthday weekend should have been from the start. Sunday evening, back home, I finally turned my phone on again. The messages had continued to pile up, but one made me stop cold. It was from Tyler. Aunt Danielle, I don't really understand what's happening. Mom is upset and won't tell me why. Did I do something wrong? Can we talk? My chest tightened. Tyler is a good kid. Respectful, hardworking, always kind to Emma. He didn't deserve to be in the middle of this. You didn't do anything wrong, I texted back. There's some adult stuff happening right now that's complicated. Nothing to do with you. If you want to hang out sometime, just you and me, I'd like that. He replied immediately. Okay. I miss hanging out with you. Miss you too, buddy. Feeling bad for him didn't change the fundamental issue. His mother chose to support Michelle and Clark. Mom chose to prioritize avoiding awkwardness over acknowledging my pain. The entire family structure aligned against me, and I was supposed to just keep paying for the privilege of being disrespected. No, I was done with that. On Monday, a call from an unknown number. I usually don't answer, but something made me pick up. Ms. Johnson, this is Patricia Reynolds. I'm an attorney representing Jessica Johnson in a family matter. Of course, they'd actually gotten a lawyer. Okay, I said. My client is concerned about certain financial accounts she believes were set up for the benefit of her children. She's asked me to discuss resolving this matter without litigation. The 529 accounts belong to me, I said. I'm the account owner. I can designate whoever I want as beneficiary, which I did, my daughter. There's no legal issue here. I understand your position, she said smoothly. However, my client believes there was an implied agreement that these funds would be used for her children's education. She's made financial decisions based on that assumption. Implied agreement. I almost laughed. I was generous with my money. That generosity wasn't a contract. When my family decided to side with my ex-husband and my sister, my generosity ended. That's not illegal. A pause. I see. Would you be willing to meet to discuss a compromise? No. Tell your client she wasted her money hiring you. I hung up and called my own lawyer, the one who handled my divorce. I explained everything. He laughed. They don't have a case, he confirmed. Your accounts, your contributions, your beneficiary choice. Unless there's a written agreement, which there isn't, there's nothing to litigate. That's what I thought. Thanks. The next few days were quieter. The lawyer thing seemed to have scared everyone off or exhausted them. Either way, my phone stopped exploding. I focused on work, on Emma, on building a life that didn't revolve around managing other people's feelings about my boundaries. Emma asked about the funds while we made dinner. Grandma said you took money away from Tyler and Sophia and everyone, she said quietly, stirring pasta sauce. That's not exactly right, I said. I moved the money I'd been saving for them into your college account instead, so you'll have more for school when you're older. But they don't have money now. They have what they had before I started contributing. Their parents will need to save for their college like most parents do. Grandma said it was mean. I turned off the stove and crouched to eye level. Do you remember how you felt at your birthday party when Daddy and Aunt Michelle made their announcement? She nodded, eyes watering. Bad. That's how I felt too. And that's how I've felt a lot around our family lately, like everyone's happy about things that make us sad and nobody cares. So I decided I needed to make changes to take care of us. Sometimes grown-up decisions are complicated. She thought about it. Okay. Then she went back to stirring. 2 weeks later, Mom begged me to come to Sunday dinner. We need to work this out as a family, she said. I almost said no. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see if anyone would finally acknowledge what they'd done. I showed up alone. Emma was with Clark that weekend, probably for the best. Everyone was already there. Jessica and her crew, Mom, and of course, Michelle and Clark with baby Connor. Mom gathered everyone in the living room and launched into a prepared speech about forgiveness and moving forward. Connor was part of our family now, and we had to accept that. I let her finish. Then I looked around the room. One question, I said. Answer it honestly. What Michelle did, sleeping with my husband while we were married, lying for months, was that wrong? Silence. Come on, I pressed. Simple question. Was it wrong? It's not that simple, Jessica said. Yes, it is. Was it wrong? Yes or no? People make mistakes, Mom offered. That's not an answer. Michelle cleared her throat. Look, I've apologized. No, you haven't. Not once. You've explained. You've justified. You've asked me to move on. But you've never said, I'm sorry for what I did to you. She looked genuinely surprised. I thought we were past all that. You thought I'd just get over it. I shook my head. And none of you, not one person in this room, has ever acknowledged how messed up it is. I'm done, I said, standing. You want to know why I pulled those college funds? This is why. Because my daughter cried at her own birthday party, and your response was to tell me I was overreacting. Because my family chose a cheater and a betrayer over me, and then expected me to keep paying for the privilege. I took a breath. Here's how this will work. Emma and I are done with family dinners. We're done with holidays. If you want a relationship with my daughter, it'll be on my terms, scheduled around her needs, without Michelle or Clark present. Take it or leave it. You can't dictate who we spend time with, Jessica snapped. You're right, I said, walking to the door, but I can dictate who we spend time with, and I choose not to spend it with people who think what happened to me is less important than avoiding uncomfortable conversations. I left before anyone could respond. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've gotten a few texts from Jessica, half-hearted attempts at reconciliation that mostly amounted to, can't we just move past this? I haven't responded. Tyler texts me occasionally, and I always answer him. We're meeting for lunch next week. Just the two of us. I'll probably help him with his college applications regardless of everything else because he's a good kid who doesn't deserve to suffer for his parents' choices. But that's my decision to make, not something anyone gets to expect or demand from me anymore. Emma seems lighter these days. The tension that used to sit on her little shoulders has eased. She's been seeing a therapist to help process everything. The divorce, the engagement, the family fractures. Her therapist says she's doing well, just working through feelings of divided loyalty. I'm proud of her for that. She's stronger than she knows. As for me, I've never been clearer. My boundaries are firm now. The family drama that once consumed me feels like background noise. I go to work, I come home, I cook dinner with my daughter, and we laugh. The silence in my house isn't emptiness anymore. It's peace. The college fund sits untouched. Emma's account grows steadily every month with new contributions and investment gains. It's more than enough to secure her future, and that feels right. For once, my time, energy, and resources are invested where they should have been all along, in someone who never betrayed me. Jessica eventually stopped threatening legal action. Their lawyer must have told them what mine did. Those accounts were mine, always were, and there's no case. Mom still leaves me weekly voicemails saying she misses me, saying family is everything. She never says what kind of family she means. And Michelle and Clark? They got married last week. Courthouse wedding. Small, quiet, no big celebration. Probably because no one left in the family had the stomach to pretend anymore. I know because Emma told me about it afterward. She said it was fine. She said baby Connor cried through the whole thing. She didn't ask why I wasn't there, which meant she already knew. People sometimes ask if I feel guilty about what I did with the college funds. The answer is no, not really. I feel sad about what was lost. The closeness with my nieces and nephews, the family dinners that used to feel like home. But guilty? No. Because guilt belongs to the people who broke things, not the one who stopped pretending everything was fine. I spent years setting myself on fire to keep everyone else warm, being the dependable one, the reasonable one, the peacekeeper, the one who swallowed betrayal so others could eat dinner in comfort. I'm not that person anymore. I'm the person who chose her daughter over her guilt, who chose her dignity over their convenience, who finally realized that family isn't defined by blood, it's defined by respect. They can ask Aunt Mom for college money. They can ask Aunt Mom to host birthdays, to mediate arguments, to play the bigger person. I'm done. I wake up each morning, make coffee, and sit on my back porch while Emma gets ready for school. Sometimes the sun hits the window just right, and I can see the reflection of the life I built from the ashes they left me. It's quiet, simple, and mine. And when Emma runs out the door with her backpack and waves goodbye, I smile, because that's all the family I need. I don't owe anyone else another ounce of my peace. That's not cruelty, that's consequences.